Recovery works if you work it. Now, it doesn't work if you don't. Lazy people don't do as good as unlazy people, no matter what area of life they're in, no matter what they're trying to accomplish. I find that people who have focus, measurement, discipline, accountability, those are the ones that get better, stronger, whatever the goal is, spiritual, financial, social, physical, sexual, it doesn't matter. So let's walk through this. Recovery happening. When we're having a conversation about sex after recovery, we got to talk about recovery. Now, I know it sounds very basic, but some of you watching this, you may not be in a counseling process, you may not be in a 12-step group, you may not have anything going on there, but recovery needs to be measured and ongoing if sex is going to be successful, because the addiction or intimacy anorexia has harmed the marriage in every aspect, including sexuality. So making sure that the recovery ingredient, nutrition, is pulsing into the relationship and into each individual is hugely significant when we're talking about the health and the well-being of a couple's sexuality. Now remember, when I'm talking about sexuality, I mean the whole arc: romance, environment, initiation, foreplay, sex after sex. That whole arc to heal needs a foundation of measurable recovery going on. Now, in our program, women especially are told believe behavior, and so are men. So these should be things you could both sit down and go, yes, these things are being done, or they're not being done. So let's go through his recovery, her recovery, couple recovery basics, just so you have at least an outline if you're not part of our program, or if you are, to make sure you're following kind of the protocols that are established that have been tested over 30 years. These things work. Recovery works if you work it. Now, it doesn't work if you don't. Lazy people don't do as good as unlazy people, no matter what area of life they're in, no matter what they're trying to accomplish. I find that people who have focus, measurement, discipline, accountability, those are the ones that get better, stronger, whatever the goal is, spiritual, financial, social, physical, sexual, it doesn't matter. So let's walk through this. His recovery would include the 5 C's: pray, read, call. That's calling someone in his accountability group, not just some random person. Meetings of some type. If they are in sex recovery, some kind of sex recovery, if they're in IA, they're probably in an intimacy anorexia phone group. There are some local intimacy anorexia groups, but most of those are by phone. And pray again, thanking God for staying clean. Now, they're also doing the appropriate workbooks. That reading part is doing the workbooks. That would be the 101 exercises. That would be the step workbooks on IA, the same thing, exercise and step workbooks. And if they have both, one day they're doing one day they're doing the other, and they're working on both at the same time. Intimacy anorexics are kind of, a little sly. So don't let them say, hey, I'm really sober on my essay, but they haven't touched an IA book. The IA is going to be damaging the sexuality of your marriage and has damaged it significantly. That's not okay. Both need to be going on. Okay? Now, they also have consequences in their program that they have established, they have covered with their wife, they've agreed upon. So if there are any relapses, those are reported within 24 hours, and that is happening. Now, also, they're addressing issues in counseling if they need to. Now, not everyone does, but most do. They're addressing if there's been family wars and traumas, abuses, neglects, how they're creating pain. All that stuff should be done in counseling and can be expediting the process for his individual healing. Okay, if he is the addict. Now, I understand women can be addicts too, and all this would apply to a woman if she's the female addict and we're in a reverse gender situation. Now, also, the IA has consequences if they're not doing like the dailies and dating and sex. If they're not initiating those, they have consequences for not initiating those. And most likely, there's a really strong accountability partner or two around this person, around this man that he's talking to regularly, getting coaching from, getting encouragement, problem solving when he hits that emotional wall or when there's a conflict he can't manage, going to them. Those are signs you should see in his recovery. And it should be something that some couples have check-in once a week or every other week, and they check in on recovery mutually. He checks on what he's learning, what step he's on, and generally what he's getting out of his recovery process, and she checks in with him as well, what she's learning, what she's getting out of group. So if a couple's established a check-in, then that'd be the time to really get into recovery. You really don't want to be doing recovery chatter every single day. That can get where in the beginning, maybe understandable, but that can really start to wear negatively in the marriage. So having a check-in where you both know it's going to be about recovery and be honest about what you're learning and stuff like that. Now, he should also have a 24-hour tell policy. If there are any relapses, he tells you within 24 hours. And if there are relapses, the DVD, Healing Her Heart After Relapse, would be critical for him to understand how to address the pain of the wife. Hugely important information in that video. Now, also, polygraphs are really important. I am the person who brought the polygraph to all of the recovery movement. We did the first one probably in the very early of 1990, 91, somewhere in there. And I took a lot of flack for that, but it's now a staple in recovery to measure masturbation, porn, talking to others, grooming others, past people, sex outside of marriage, because there needs to be safety in the recovery process for both people, for sexuality to be able to grow and nurture. If someone feels unsafe, it's hard to give all of themselves to the person. If there's a measurement like a polygraph, then there's reasonable safety and reasonableness to be able to give yourself to your spouse. Now let's talk about her recovery. Very similar. She has the 5 C's: pray, read, call, meetings, and there's support groups for married and alone. There's support groups for partners and partner betrayal trauma. We have Facebook groups for them, for men and women. And so there are married and alone men's group because there are female anorexics and they need support. And so you can get that through the Facebook, but you can also be in a phone group. We have like over 50 phone groups of various types. So there's somewhere where you can fit in and get your needs met as a woman or a partner of an addict or an intimacy anorexic. And then you're also establishing the boundaries if they relapse. So the way that works, suppose he says, if I masturbate, I pick up trash. He doesn't pick up trash. Your boundary would be, okay, I don't provide X service for the week. Okay? So there's some boundary in case he decides he wants to be king baby. You want to not have that dynamic showing back up. So you're working on boundaries, not that you're imposing them on him. He should have his own consequences. But if he doesn't follow through with the consequences, those boundaries are for you to be able to make sure that the kind of dysfunctional system doesn't continue to manifest. But also addressing your own issues as a woman, whatever those are, family of origin, sexual issues, being triggered, safety, all those. And there's videos on triggered, I need to feel safe. Working through the issue so that you're as healthy as possible and not expecting the least mature person in the relationship, usually the addict anorexic, to be the person trying to make you better. You want to take full reins of that and expedite your own process. And if they choose to join you, that's fantastic. That's the best situation. Couple recovery. Okay, you have your individual. Couples, they're going on dates, whether it's once a week or every other week. They rotate responsibility for that. Who's initiating the date, who's responsible for the date, and it's that person who's initiating. They're trying to make themselves happy. They're not trying to make their spouse happy. And you just rotate that back and forth. They're doing the dailies. If you're in our program, you know what that is. If not, here's really brief. You share 2 feelings a day. I feel blank when. I first remember feeling blank when. Every day, if you need a feeling list, just send us an email. Happy to shoot it to you. 2 praises. I really love, like, appreciate, ... about you. The other person says thank you. Then they give you one, a second one, a second one. And any of our counselors or most of our materials has the dailies in it. And then praying together, regardless of your faith, praying, asking God, or if you have an issue with that, higher power, spirit, whatever that is for you, hey, we need your help to repair the damage that's here. We need the supernatural. And I can tell you so many people who've had no faith, just practicing that really helped them grow. And also sexually, it impacts you because you're connecting spiritually, which is great, okay? Then also having a sexual agreement. And again, we talk through when and all that kind of stuff. And then hearing each other's voice, all address the issues, but having an agreement so there's some understanding about sexuality. And then counseling if necessary, because there are recovery issues, and then there are a couple issues that can be totally independent of addiction or intimacy anorexia, or they might be impacted or exaggerated or exasperated because of addiction, anorexia, or even the trauma piece. All those are factors. So I would say this, if you do couples counseling, please find a counselor who's certified in what you need. If they're not certified in sexual addiction, you have that, find someone who is. We've got a team of phone counselors who can help you. They don't understand intimacy and anorexia, and you have that, you can get a lot of bad advice. So I would encourage you, before you get counseling, make sure they're certified in what you need so you are not training your counselor on what you've got. And if I go to a doctor, I don't want to take a book on what I've got to him and have him read it. I want him to have written the book, okay? So I know he's competent. Now, all our counselors here have been trained very thoroughly. They all have gone through the ASAP program, and that can be really helpful for you. So recovery needs to be happening. Ideally, all three pieces are moving at the same time from the very beginning. Our model is all three all the time. Okay, so you have his recovery, her recovery, couple recovery. They're all moving, and our experience is generally, if all that is moving and people are addressing their issues, sexuality returns very organically and very connectedly, and most couples report having the best sex ever. But recovery is an important part of sex after recovery.